the Everything But Politics podcast.
All right, welcome back to Everything But Politics. We got a special one today, as this guest is one I've been listening to. Man, shortly after college, I began listening to this man, and he's an author, entrepreneur, father, the encouraging Jon Gordon. Jon, welcome.
Merrick, great to be with you. Evan, great to see you too.
Our pleasure.
Welcome.
Jon, I want to begin this podcast today by talking about goal setting, specifically when we don't reach our intended goals. So the example in my head, this example came this past weekend on the golf course. So my goal for the round was no double bogeys. Okay. By the sixth hole, I made a double bogey. And from there, I'm thinking to myself, what is the best way to readjust for the next 12 holes? So we're big golfers. I think golf is one of the greatest metaphors for life there is. I'm not sure if you're a golfer, but in our lives, that's been the metaphor. What is the best way to readjust when you don't hit your goals?
You know, you're not always going to hit your goals, but that's a great question because a lot of people get frustrated when they don't hit their goals. So I believe you say, okay, I didn't hit my goal. How can I hit my goals next time? How can I create a new positive vision next time? Don't beat yourself up, which is what a lot of people do. They get down, they beat themselves up, they start to feel frustrated and discouraged. You got to make sure that you have hope for the future, you have optimism, and you say, okay, what can I do better? What did I learn? How can I grow? How can I improve? How can I hit the ball better in your case? How can I practice more so I have a better round? Start thinking about practice that will help you improve. And as you start to think about the positives, you think about the actions you can take. So you're looking forward, not backward.
Got it. Understood. And Jon, how do you set goals? Is there a specific thing you do, strategy?
You know, it's funny. I don't really have goals a lot of times. I don't set goals. I have a vision. I'm big on vision. Like, where do I want to go? What do I want to create? Like, what's the big vision and mission that is driving me? So, for instance, it's to develop positive leaders who make a positive impact in every business, school, team, organization, and community to create a more positive world. So like that's my vision and mission of what I'm here for, what I want to do. Now, again, the goal is, I would say, tens of thousands of leaders will develop, for my certified positive leader program. There will be thousands of certified trainers helping us do that. And there'll be millions of leaders that will be impacted. But I don't have like a set goal, like 5 million, 10 million. I just envision millions. When I began writing books, I wanted to have millions read them. And so now we're at 6 million. I remember that when I first started, I wanted 1 million, right? Like, I just want a million people that will buy the energy bus. I don't know why. I just had that number, 1 million people. And now it's just like millions. So I just say millions. I just say impact. I just say, what do I want to create? What do I want to build? So it's more like objectives and vision and mission, but I don't write down like a set number of goals that I'm going after. I'm much bigger on commitments, because will your goals take you to where you want to go? No.
So
they help guide you, but they don't take you to where you want to go. But your commitments will. What are you committed to? So focus on the process that will lead you to your goals.
I like that.
So what are you currently committed to?
What am I committed to?
Currently, yeah.
Yeah, I'm committed to being the best husband I can be. I'm committed to being there for my son who's 25 now, my daughter who's 27. I'm committed to my team, committed to this vision and mission. I'm committed to getting better myself every single day, committed to every talk that I give. I actually add value, and I give great principles and practices that people can take away and use in their life, use in their family. They can make a difference. They can make an impact with what I share. I live with the end in mind, thinking one day I'll be gone and someone will meet my kids and they'll say, hey, your dad impacted my life in this way. Perhaps it was a book that they read or a talk they heard or maybe a video I shared, and they will be impacted. So I live with that end in mind. So I'm committed to that. Again, just being the best I could be. I wrote a book, The 7 Commitments of a Great Team. Just spoke to the commanders, actually. And I believe that there's
Right.
7 commitments that every team must make in order to be a great team. But those also go to the individual commitments of the commitment to the vision and mission of the team, the commitment to getting better, the commitment to giving your best. I am really committed to staying positive through my challenges, which I think is really important right now. So I'm committed to staying positive. I'm committed to connecting. Relationships are everything, and committed to others. Like, how can I make others better through service and sacrifice? I'm committed to that.
Awesome. Well, I've heard you mention in past interviews that strong leadership is more important than a strong vision. When you are with a team like the Commanders or the Dodgers or anyone for that matter, is there a separator between the teams that do have success throughout the season versus those that don't? Like, what do you notice being inside the locker room?
Oh, yeah. 3 things. One, they truly stay positive together. They don't allow the negativity, the setbacks, the obstacles to get them down. So that's a huge part of it. Like, are we going to commit to staying positive? They also stay connected. That connection they have, the relationships they develop, the brotherhood, or if it's a female team, right, the sisterhood, the team that you have along the way, and the connections you develop, and the bonds of trust. That is essential for being a strong team. And then the commitment to each other. It's not just, hey, we want to win. No, we are willing to sacrifice for each other and give up things for each other and give things to each other in order to get better. All great teams must sacrifice for each other. They must be willing to go from me to we. I'm going to lose myself so that we can find greatness within the team. And then the last part is they just stay the course. They got grit. They are stubborn, and they just keep fighting, and they do not give up. Like, hey, we may not be winning now, but we're going to keep fighting. We may be having this setback. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep looking forward towards the future, getting better along the way.
Looking for something new to listen to? Tired of the same old crap they feed us on the radio? Look no longer. Apollo Celine has got you covered. On Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you name it. They've got tons of new music suited for you. Check it out.
And John, I love the idea of like positive thinking and self-talk. What are like daily tricks or habits to improve your positive thinking?
Yeah, we can build mental muscle. Like, we can become more positive. People don't realize that. They don't think that. They think, oh, this is just the way I am. I'm naturally negative. I might as well just give up or just be this negative person, right? They don't look to become more positive, but we can. And I am proof of that. I literally worked on becoming a more positive person because I am naturally negative. And what we have to realize is it's a battle between positive and negative. Like, do your negative thoughts come from you? And you guys might say yes, and people say yes all the time. But here's the next question. If you believe your negative thoughts come from you, who would ever choose to have a negative thought? Would you ever choose a negative thought? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't choose to say, the future's hopeless. I should just give up. I'm not enough. I stink. You would never choose that. When you're playing golf, Merrick, I bet you were probably hearing some negative thoughts come into your head, right?
Yeah.
But you weren't choosing them initially. They just came in. Perhaps it's a pattern. Perhaps it's things you've heard in the past, or perhaps it's just that negative thought that comes in from a consciousness, right? It just pops in. No one has ever found a thought inside of a brain. So the thought comes in, you believe it, you reinforce it, you speak it out loud, and then it does become a part of you. So here's the thing. You're not the thoughts that you think, you're the thoughts you believe. So what thoughts are you believing? So Evan, this is key when you're having the battle of positive versus negative, and the negative is coming in. To win the battle, you first have to realize those negative thoughts are not coming from me. Now, what do I do each day and each moment when those negative thoughts come in? Well, first, don't believe the lies that they're telling. Don't agree with them. Next, speak truth to the lies. Speak words of encouragement. So the negative thought says, you suck. Positive thought, no, I don't. Man, I'm just not playing well, but I don't suck. I suck right now, but I'm not going to suck on the next shot. I believe the next one is going to be great. So now you can move to a positive belief,
Mindset.
with optimism, with hope, I believe the next one is going to be great. They did a study of the top 20 tennis players in the world, and they looked at the top 20 and the top 5. And what they found was there wasn't a lot of difference in talent level with the top 20, but the top 5, they all had something different. They had positive expectation after losing a point, losing a game, losing a set. They all believed and looked for the good that was coming their way. They believed that the next point was going to come their way. The next game was going to come their way in their favor. They had positive expectation. Where a lot of people go, just lost that game. What happens if I lose the next one? What happens if I don't play well this match? They start to focus on the negative. The best actually believe, they truly believe that great things are coming their way. So every day I walk and I say, I expect great things to happen. I
Yes.
believe great things are happening in my life. And I used to not do this, but over 20 years now, this is what I do. And I truly believe I've brought so many things to me by this positive expectation. I've stayed positive, and these mental hacks really help you along the way. So talk to yourself. Don't listen to yourself. Practice gratitude for what you have, because what you appreciate, right, starts to elevate. And as you appreciate things in life, you elevate your life, you elevate your mood, your performance, the people around you. Focus on the success of each day. So at the end of the day, write down the one great thing that happened that day. Not all the things that went wrong, but the one thing that went right. And if you focus on that success, what happens? You go to bed a success. You wake up a success. You're now looking for the successes in your life. And what you look for, you find. What you focus on shows up more in your life. That's how it works. And so you don't believe me? Look for blue cars on the road today. You'll start to see more blue cars on the road. The brain's an antenna. So as we're tuning into things, we experience more of it. So this is just a really great way to, one, bring more positivity into your life, give you more hope and belief, and then also see the impact that it has when you actually start to get the results from the optimism, the belief, and then of course the actions that create it. We do have to act, right? It's just not going to happen with thinking about it, but you have to act and create it.
Beautiful. Well, that is a beautiful, well thought out response, John. But something you said there, which is so ironic, is that you're naturally a negative person. That just, in my opinion, such a great form of self reflection. At what point did you become so aware of who you were that is your natural calling or being?
You know, you just know along the way what's holding you back. And I do believe that self-reflection, self-awareness is a gift. And a lot of people don't have it, unfortunately, Merrick. They don't have it. They don't see their blind spots. They don't see where they can get better. But I do. I see where I can improve. I can see even now as a positive leader who teaches this, who does this work and shares it every day. I also can see that when I'm with my team, there are times my team is not performing at the level they need to. And there are times I get frustrated because I'm a driver, because that's what made me successful. So I've learned along the way. And even now, okay, I tell myself, be a positive leader in this moment, John. Be a positive leader. You know, would you write about in that book? Make sure you're actually doing it. Can't just write it. You got to live it. You got to do it. So I think the self-reflection part is really important. I became aware that I was negative and really struggled with negativity when I was in my early 20s. And then my late 20s, I lost my job during the dot-com crash. Didn't know how I was going to pay the bills. This was 2001, 2002. Had 2 young kids, a wife, and I'm like, at that point, I'm about 30, and I'm crumbling, like literally crumbling from the inside out. And I'm being so negative. And my wife had enough of my negativity. She said, if you don't change, we're over. So you better change. And that was a wake-up call. 1, I wanted to be better. And 2, I did want to stay married. So I had to change. And that was the impetus to actually start researching ways I could be more positive, which led me to do this work. So my quest to get better myself led to a quest to help others get better.
Okay, yeah. That is sometimes you got to reach rock bottom, right, to make your way up. But I want to change topics real quick because I know
Sure.
that you work very closely with a lot of young athletes, specifically college football. Talk about when you're dealing or talking with these young men and they're 18, 19, 20 years old. They're throwing $1 million. Here's $1 million NIL deal. Here's 500,000 Instagram followers. Like so much all at once. You've talked about the slippery slope of achieving instant success. What do you tell these young men and women when they are handed so much at once?
You can't focus on the responsibilities and the pressure and all the outside noise and expectations, and don't allow those outside expectations to become your internal expectations. You just love playing. You love competing. You work on being your best every day. It's not about the money you've been paid. It's not about what people think or expect. It's about you getting better every day, you growing, you improving, you showing up and loving the battle, loving competing, loving playing, loving performing, because love casts out fear. So the minute you focus on love, fear dissipates. And of course, you do your best every day and you let God do the rest. You give up the control piece. Like you have to let it go. You got to do your best and then let the outcome take care of itself. I think what happens is these young people, they look outside instead of inside. They look at the crowds. They look at the noise. They look at, again, the money they're being paid, and they allow that to determine their identity and their expectations. And from there, they feel pressure. They feel stress. And now they feel all of that on the inside. And so they're outside in instead of inside out. And the key is to become inside out, recognizing that that's how you create from the inside out. The power is within you. So now it's about love, joy, playing the game not for the money, but for what you love to do, because the money will never make you successful. You playing the game and loving it and being your best and striving for excellence, that's what's going to lead to success. So you be inside out, have an internal focus and an external push to the outside, and then you'll see great success. So don't be outside in, be inside out. Does that make sense?
On the hunt for legendary wings, Buffalo's in Bloomington, Indiana, and Carmel, Indiana has you covered. Crowned top 10 wings in the nation by USA Today, our wings are a fan favorite. Dip into Mrs. Louie's famous sweet Q sauce for that sweet and tangy kick. Visit Buffalo's and wing it like a pro.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I like that a lot. My question is, though, I feel like for our listeners, there's a lot of 20 to 35-year-olds who don't have a clear vision like a professional or college athlete might have. What is like your message to someone who doesn't have a clear vision?
Don't beat yourself up about it. You just keep asking, what do I truly want? What is my vision? What is it that I want to build? What do I want to create? What do I want my life to be like 5, 10 years from now? And don't think too far ahead, but think about the life you want to create. I actually teach this in my book, The Carpenter, which I think every young person should read. The Carpenter is all about the greatest success principles of all. And you have to design your masterpiece in order to create your masterpiece. And I remember asking, like, what do I truly want? I ask that question all the time. But also, don't put pressure on yourself to know it right away, because I didn't know it. I mean, I went to college, graduated Cornell, went to Houston, broke up with my girlfriend, drove home to New York, waiting tables at Houlihan's. All my friends went to go work on Wall Street. I feel like a failure. And then I'm waiting tables. I moved down to Atlanta, wait tables down there, get a bartending job in Buckhead, get my master's in teaching at Emory while I'm bartending, and then wind up opening up a bar in Buckhead at 24, got some investors together, opened up this bar, started a nonprofit where we raise money for youth-focused charities. That made that a pretty cool nonprofit. We were having these events in town and all these people would come to it. I had the bar. So what I would do is I would get, people their drinks, they would drink, and then I would invite them to volunteer the next day and have an impact. So they'd be drunk, they'd say yes, and then they'd have to commit to it and come help out and volunteer. So we did all of that, and then I go to law school. I run for city council. I lose the election in 1997. I was like 26 years old. Lose the election. Then my wife had our kids. drop out of law school after a year and a half, go work for a .com, think I'm going to make my millions. I have 100,000 shares, lose my job during the .com crash. And that's when my wife threatens to leave me because I'm so negative. And then I finally ask the question, what am I born to do? What do I truly, truly want? And that's when writing and speaking came to me in that moment. But it took years for me to figure that out, right? At 30, 31, I figured out what I wanted to do. And now I've been doing it for the last 20 something years, right? Now I'm living my vision and mission. But I think people feel like they have to know what they want right away. But I think you have to keep asking the question. You got to see where your gifts are, what you love to do, what energizes you. And I always ask this question, if money was no object, what would I truly want to do as a job? You can't say, well, I want to go hang out and travel and just go to these beautiful resorts and hang out there. No, what would your job be if money was no object? What would you want to do on a daily basis to create and add to the world? Well, you guys are probably loving doing this podcast, right? This is something
Absolutely.
you guys love to do. It's a part of that, right? So there's no perfect thing, but I'm a spiritual guy also, and I do believe you're here for a purpose. I believe you're here for a reason. I believe God created you for a purpose. And the more you actually pray and you surrender and you trust, what you realize is as you spend time with God, he will reveal your purpose to you and for you, because that's the journey of life. You weren't here by accident. You're not here for just some random reason. There is a purpose. So actually, the more you get to know the one who created you on purpose and for a purpose, your purpose will be revealed to you. And I think that's the key.
You know, John, you bring up a very beautiful conversation we had a couple weeks back with Eben Britton. And one of the questions we asked Eben was the difference in his life between meditation and prayer. So I want to ask you, in your life, how do you differentiate between those two?
Well, as someone who was a meditator years ago and did Buddhist meditations, meditation was great. Meditation helps you remove the clutter from your mind, and it allows connection to take place. But if you think about Buddhist meditations, what's the purpose? It's to connect to what? They say it's to connect to nothingness, like there's nothing. But as a man thinks, he becomes. So if you think about nothing, you become what? Nothing. I don't believe it's about nothing. I believe it's about everything. I think the goal is to connect to everything. And I believe there is an everything, and it's God. And for me, prayer is connecting with your creator, because you were created for connection. And because you were created to be one with your creator, not separate. And everything in life comes down to oneness and separateness. Everything. There's a power trying to unite us and connect us. And there's a force always trying to divide us and separate us. We use terms like broken marriages, broken relationships, broken friendships. It implies that wholeness is the key. And there's actually a term called shalom. And shalom means integrity, beyond peace. It means integrity, wholeness, and completeness. And the goal is wholeness and completeness. It's oneness. All mental health disorders report feelings of isolation and disconnection and separation. Schizophrenia means split mind, bipolar, two poles, separation. When you have trauma in your life, there's a neurological separation that happens in your brain, a disconnection. And so many people experience trauma. I said there's a force trying to break you. And the root word for anxious, it's the Greek root word, means to separate and divide. And so when we feel anxious, we actually feel separate and divided. So remember, everything is oneness and separateness. So the key then is to go towards oneness. And how do we do that? Through the power of prayer. So as you pray, your spirit and God's spirit becomes one spirit. And in that prayer and in that connection, that's where healing takes place. It's where restoration takes place. It's where great ideas come your way. It's where you feel whole and powerful and courageous and confident. It's why the zone is truly a spiritual peak experience, because you're connected to everything in that one moment, and everything slows down and time slows down, and you feel this incredible experience. Everyone's been in the zone. They've had that moment where they feel that timelessness. It's truly a spiritual experience. That's the ultimate connected experience. And so for me, like, I will now walk a lot and pray where I used to meditate. Now for me, it's all prayer. I pray, I surrender, I trust, I connect. And that's where I transformed from negative to positive. Everything in my life has changed because of those prayers. And every idea from my book, all 32 books, All 32 books, 18 bestsellers, they've come to me on those walks of prayer.
Wait, I love that you mentioned your walks. I know those are very divine in your own way. When you do such a thing and no phone, I take it, you're just you and your thoughts. Sometimes I feel like there's so much value in being able to capture those thoughts as they come. What do you bring with you to capture those moments? Do you have a pen and paper with you?
Now I have a phone and I'll bring it with
too.
me.
Oh.
And the biggest distraction is when I unfortunately check my phone. So I've got to make sure I shut the phone off in terms of, airplane mode, or just completely shut it off. And then when I get the idea, turn it back on and write those notes to myself with that idea that comes my way. So I get a lot of good ideas and thoughts on those walks. Like literally whole books have come to me on those walks. And
Yeah.
I don't think I'm anything special. I'm not at all. It's just been 20 years of taking the time to tune into, right, a greater power, a higher intelligence, a spirit that is full of love, that has a purpose for you, versus the negativity, the worry, the fear, the anxiety, all the things of this world. I love the name of your podcast. I'm not thinking about politics on the walk. I'm not thinking about, I'm not thinking about anything that's going to drain me on that walk. I'm connecting to spirit. And so I'm tapping into this greater power. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it does. In this age of distraction, how do you get into deep work?
Distractions are the enemy of greatness. And so you've got to tune into it, because we're so used to being distracted, and it's hard to be still because that becomes our default nature. It's like every day you get into your car, and back in the old days, you had the radio and you would tune into a station, or you tune into you put on your playlist. So you got your playlist, you're listening to a station. If you listen to that every single day, it becomes your default state. It becomes your default listening. So you got to reprogram. You got to reprogram yourself, and you got to find moments of stillness. And it's like anything, the more you do it, you just get better and better and better at it. It really becomes like this muscle and this natural state. Like for me, I'll start walking. First 5-10 minutes, I'm not fully present. I'm not fully connected at all. It's rough at first. Like there's all this static, there's all this noise, and you got to get to a higher plane, a higher level. Again, remember, the brain is an antenna. So you're tuning into a certain frequency. And in the initial state, you're at a lower frequency. So there's a lot of static in the lower frequency. But as you get going, you keep tuning that dial, you elevate your frequency. Now you start tuning into a more calm, peaceful, powerful, loving spirit. And that becomes what you're tuned into. So then you get done, you're recharged, you're replenished, you're refreshed. Rather than all the stress draining you, you're actually fueled up with this incredible power, ready to take on the day. And I guarantee it, over time, as we study the brain, and there's more and more neuroscientists studying it, we're going to see how it literally transforms the brain. It rewires it, and it actually elevates the frequency of it. I can't wait till scientists could show that and figure it out, because I know that's what they're going to find, because we have 86 billion neurons in our brain, 86 billion neurons. And what is a neuron? Transmitter and receiver. So we are literally interacting and tuning into it. It's an energetic reality that we're living in, guys. It's an energetic reality. Everything is an energetic reality, and underlying the energetic reality is the spirit of life. Might call it consciousness. And that spirit of life and that consciousness is a deeper, eternal power. And that's where the soul and the spirit come in, versus this energetic reality that we live. Because think about it. When we die, what happens? Our body turns to dust. Isn't that weird? It turns to dust. Poof, gone. It was here, and then it's gone. And then we also know that every single one of our cells is actually 99.9999% empty space. So we're actually more light beings than physical beings. And how do we make sense of this world? Through electromagnetic frequencies and signals and vibrations, the optic nerve, the auditory nerve, right? We see images through the light that our brain converts into images, and then we hear things that our auditory nerve turns into meaning and from vibrations. So think about it. Everything is literally an energetic reality. My book, The One Truth, explains all of this. It blows people away. People are like, John, do you smoke pot? No, I do not smoke pot. This is how I think naturally. But once you understand this, life becomes so much more understandable, actually. It becomes more magical, and it becomes more like you're a Jedi, where you actually see how everything works and you can operate like a Jedi in this world. And here's the best part. You were given the power to do it. Someone said, John, I read The One Truth. I feel like you gave me the secrets of the universe and how to master it. And I love that because that was my goal.
John, this has been such an amazing podcast. I got one final question for you.
Sure,
What
Evan.
advice do you have to anyone who seeks to live an extraordinary life?
First, to know that you were meant to live an extraordinary life, to know that there truly is greatness inside of you. Like, you're not meant to go through life fearful, worried, anxious, and stressed all the time. We see so many young people and so many people of all ages going through that and living that way that it's actually become normalized. But that's not meant to be our natural state. Our natural state is meant to be whole, courageous, confident, powerful, taking on this world, loving the life, even the challenges, and fighting through it in a powerful, positive way. There's always going to be adversity. There's always going to be challenges, but you're meant to actually be powerful to take on those challenges and then win in this world and create the life that you want, create the life that you can imagine for yourself. I believe that God imagined us to imagine and he created us to create. And so you were given this power to create things in this world. And so what do you truly want to create? What do you want to build? Relentlessly go after it. Keep the dream alive. Live with optimism and belief. Know that you are more powerful than your circumstances. Find a group of people to go do life with that help you on this journey. And as you do, that's going to lead to an extraordinary life. And I would say, from a man's standpoint, find an extraordinary wife as well, because that, I think, has been like the most important thing in my life, finding the right wife. We raise our kids together. We're building a house together right now. And we're building even a new business together. Even after all these years, we have something new. It's Gordon Publishing. We are helping people write their books and publish their books because we know how important that is. And we are loving it. And it's going incredible. It was my wife's idea. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I have so much going on. She's like, I'm telling you, I meet all these people when I'm on the road with you and they want to do books. So we should help them. I'm like, all right. And you know what? It's been so cool doing that. GordonPublishing.com. Anyone interested? Check it out. But it's a new business. So again, find the right partner on this journey called life and you'll have an extraordinary life.
That's awesome.
Well, John, thank you for all you've done. Thank you for all you will do. And my biggest takeaway from this is I'm extremely inspired by your faith. So thank you. I already look forward to re-listening to this episode. And it's an honor to feature you to the Everything But Politics community. So thank you again.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. I do want to encourage you. You really read The One Truth, because when you do, it just makes so much sense and explains everything in terms of the oneness to separateness, high state of mind, low state of mind, how fear divides, love unites, how to ultimately do things on a daily basis to tune into the positive. And it's a combination of like psychology, science, and faith. And it shares why faith is actually so important for our mental health. Like, you'll never win a spiritual battle with man-made strategies. And if you truly know there's a force that's always trying to divide us and break us, and you see it play out in the world, then you have to say, okay, how do we bring this power of love to unite us and connect us? And once you understand how to do that, then everything changes. So I've taught that to world-class athletes, top CEOs. I taught it to also a lot of sports coaches too. And these coaches now, it helped them understand how to stay in a high state of mind for themselves and help their players. And they can start to see when their players are disconnected or connected. What happened during the pandemic, guys?
Yeah.
Everyone was disconnected. And as they were disconnected, what happened? Mental health issues.
Yes.
So this is the answer to the mental health problems. And everyone's talking about the epidemic and the issue with mental health. They don't know why we have this problem, but I share in there why we do. And faith is really the answer. You spend time every day in prayer. Here's what's going to happen real quick. What's going to happen? As you pray and you surrender and you trust, you let go of your ego, you let go of your fear, you let go of your pride, you let all the things that you're trying to control because you're trying to be God. And the minute you try to be God, that separates you from God. So now you have more anxiety, the word anxious, right? Because you're separate. You're trying to be in control. The minute you surrender and trust, now you allow the Spirit to flow and move through you. As that happens, right, that power becomes your power. That genius idea becomes your next great idea. That love becomes your love. That healing becomes your healing. And now that power becomes a part of you. And you start living in this world with more power, with great ideas, with more confidence, more courage. And then it goes to you creating a more positive world and an extraordinary life, as you said. So I find that faith is the key. And people say, yeah, but Jon, what about all the people who say they're Christians and they still do sinful things and they have a lot of hate in their heart and so forth? Yeah, those are the people that are not actually, they're not tuning into the Spirit. They might have professed their faith, but they're not allowing their faith and the Spirit of God to actually move through them because they're not praying. I guarantee they're not praying. Anyone who actually takes time to pray, like really pray, will find more peace and more love in their heart.
Beautiful. Jon, keep inspiring. Thanks again.
All right, guys.
Appreciate
God
it.
bless you guys. Keep on doing great work.